the other side of writing a book. What sort of book it is. It can be a business book, it can be a memoir, it can be anything. It can be a children's book. The process of writing will change your life. Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm your host Tony Lontis and this is the Artist and Author Hour. Now, you know this amazing woman that's going to come on the show with me today, as we've done many shows together, but it's a while since you've seen her gorgeous face because she's been busy creating massive impact across the world with her work with authors. But before I introduce you, just remember, if you're watching us live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, don't forget to like and subscribe to YouTube and look at the show notes for any of the information that we talk about today. If you want to watch these shows in replay, please jump on to Tony TV on the Binge networks, Hero Go, Zondra TV networks across the USA, and available on smart TVs, Roku, LG, Samsung, Amazon Fire, and also now streaming live onto our own channel, the Everyday Women's Network channel, and you'll see the details of how to log in and sign up for Everyday Women's Network. Now, each and every week we do a little welcome to country, which is part of an international movement that acknowledges the special and important role Indigenous communities play in the development of our country's cultural identity. So today, I want to respectfully acknowledge the people of the Yugambeh language region, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and broadcast, and I want to pay my respect to the elders past, present and emerging, and all Torres Strait and Aboriginal people listening or watching today. Now, today we're going to be talking with the gorgeous Kez Wickham St George, and we're going to be introducing a new program that she's running. But before I talk to Kez, here's a reminder about this incredible human being. Kez Wickham St George is a global writers consultant, a best-selling international award-winning author with a passion for championing people from diverse backgrounds to help them reveal their cultural and creative sides. Her ability to draw out the best story writing from her clients has made her a popular mentor and book consultant, and her many skills and wisdom within publishing, writing, and authoring helps them make their book better. She also writes for numerous international and local and national magazines and newspapers. And as a leader in her profession, she has spoken across the world, from Japan and throughout Australia, regarding all sorts of topics, including mental health, journaling, and effective communication. Kez leverages her extensive travels, her art therapist background, and her extensive writing skills to encourage readers to think outside the box. So it's not surprising that Kez is known as globally as a writer's consultant. She has compiled many of her own books, as well as 2, and I think it might almost be 3 anthologies with other women and authors across the world. We're going to talk about all her incredible books on the show today. She is an amazing human being, one I am certainly glad to call friend and confidant. Please welcome to the show, Kez Wickham St George.
Hello. Thank you, Tony. That's an amazing review of what I do. I think I'll actually get you to come on stage and introduce me.
I was laughing with Kez. She is forging such an incredible career path in, and I'm hesitant to say this, the latter years of her life, not because I actually think that she's got another 30 years in her yet, But joking with Kez, I would love to go around and introduce Kez on the stages that she speaks at across the world, because she's forging quite a career in speaking to different groups and people about authorship, among many other things that she is wise about. Now, Kez, I am struggling to hope that I don't lose my voice today. As I said to Kez before we jumped on the call, I have been talking all day, which is part of my job, but I didn't want to be quite this hoarse going into this interview because it's important. I wanted to start today by highlighting one of your taglines and favorite things, and it's called Be Seen, Be Heard, Be Known. Kez, what does this mean to you?
It means everything to me. About 20 years ago, when I first landed in Australia from New Zealand, I met up with a Maori friend of mine, and she said to me, if you want to get anywhere in Australia, you must be seen, you must be heard, you must be known. And that's been my go-to every time I get a bit, excuse me, I've got the same problem as you, talking all day. Every time we all get to the stage we want to flag it. We think I've had enough. People want you to do so much more than what you can do sometimes. And that little saying pops up in my mind. In fact, it's so important. I have it in my office on a little candle holder on top of my shelf. So every time I get to that position, I think I don't want to do this anymore. It's just reminding me that it's not so much me that's saying that. It's now I'm actually encouraging other people to follow that mantra.
Yes, well done. And I know you do that very well. So just in case people don't know you, which would seem impossible to me, but I want to talk about your writer's journey just quickly, because you have such a stable of books now, and your processes change and grow as you do. So let's talk about your book writing journey.
It's been 20 years now, Tony. The next one I've done just last year. I finished the trilogy.
Yes.
And then I had a movie made of the last book.
Yes.
So before that, I wrote 2 more trilogies. I've written 2 children's books. I've co-authored a book with Japan. I've co-authored or co-compiled a book in MH Press. And I've recently gone into an anthology myself, because I've never done that before. Someone says join the anthology. I thought, well, why not? So that was very interesting, and it was like stepping back for me. And although I did the editing, the structural editing in the book, reading other authors, which you don't get time to do when you're as busy doing what I do.
Exactly. So writing is really the mainstay of what you do every day now, Kez, isn't it? I know often when I talk to you, you'll be mostly writing when I talk to you, or you've been editing, or you've been helping someone edit, or you've been doing book reviews, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. So there's another book coming out, isn't there?
Jigsaw. It was supposed to come out on Saturday.
See, I knew it was soon.
Yeah. Printers problems.
Yes.
So my publisher kindly rang me yesterday and said, we can't do it. Would you like to have a proxy launch, or would you like to cancel? And I thought, you know what? I've had a proxy launch before, and I wasn't comfortable. So I thought I will cancel, and it's going ahead the 29th of April.
Oh, great. So can you tell us about the next book, Kez?
Yes, I can. Next book is about a young child, excuse me, that is born, and she is not wanted by her mother and by her sisters. But it was all expected that her father would come home from the Second World War and sire a son. That was the goal. That was the aim. And way back then, in the middle 1940s, or the late 1940s, it was if you didn't have a son, a car, or own your own home, you couldn't really go out in society and do what socialites did in those days.
Uh-huh.
So my mum decided she didn't have a car, she didn't have a house of her own, and that was very rare in those days to own a home. And so she was going to have a son. And so
Yes.
she set forth, fell pregnant, and I was born. And yeah, I was a little girl,
Thank
and
goodness for that is all I can say, Kez.
I
I'm
think
certainly
so
glad
too.
you're here, and the rest of the world would be a world worse off without you and your writing at the very least, apart from all the other things that you do and help people with.
Yeah, but I wasn't mistreated in any way, Tony. I was looked
No,
after, I was warm, I was fed, I was housed. Um, it was just, she really didn't have much time for it. She was very, very much in the socialite scene and didn't have much time for a baby. So as soon as I was able to up and walk, I was handed over to my dad, and him and I became great mates.
yeah,
So I learned what most 4-year-old, 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds don't. I learned how to chop wood.
yes,
I learned how to mix dad's whiskey in with his tea so mum didn't know. I did all these things as a child. And all it did was, lessons learned. I
yes,
made a point of my children would always feel welcome, wanted, and loved.
yeah,
And yeah, it was a lesson. That's all it was, a lesson.
yeah, yeah. Um, so one of the books that you've written has had a really special outcome, and I know it's something that you're incredibly proud of, and I've seen what's become of this portion of a book. Can you tell us about The Cry of Morrow?
That's a movie. The name of the book is Scry. Uh, so I just knew, you just know it, a gut instinct, you're doing the right thing, and there's something special about the book. I
Mm-hmm.
did all that. I contacted a local movie producer who specializes in short movies. We had a cup of tea at my house,
Mm,
and her name is Sally Newman. You most
yeah.
probably know her, met her. And I gave the 3 pages of the um, prologue to Sally and said,
Yes.
I feel this is something special. And she went, well, this will take 10 minutes. I'll have to work on it. So, so she went away, and I literally just got on with life, as you do.
Mm.
And she rang me 2 weeks later. She went, let's go to work together. So there was a lot of, I had to step back a lot and think, okay. So that I didn't write that scene that belongs somewhere else, but she did a beautiful job. And when you give your work with your permission to another creative that makes movies out of your book, um, it was absolutely wonderful. I,
And
I, I
it was
can't
a
believe it.
it was beautiful as well, because I've seen the movie. I remember when Kez was actually going through that process, and her thoughts as a writer going through that process, handing over her work to someone else and trusting them to create movie magic out of them. And it was challenging, but to see the delight on Kez's face when that movie was launched, the success that it has, and the beauty of that particular piece is something that is legacy for you and your family. And it's created such a beautiful little piece of cinematography, hasn't it?
It has, but it's what they call avant-garde. And I took that movie up to Cairns with me and showed it there at the Cairns Tropical Writers Festival.
Yeah,
And I've shown it at a writers' workshop I ran close by in
yeah,
one of the shires here. And so for the next 3 months, I will be showing it as a workshop
yes,
on how to write a book, what an author goes through to write a book. How do
yes.
you get there? How do you get there?
And then what can happen on the other side, Kez?
That's
Because
right.
although you're a wonderfully successful writer in your own right, part of what you do and part of what you create in your world is that incredible knowledge that you pass on to people as well.
It is. Yeah, it's what I try and pass on is the fact that if I can do it, you can do it. I I'm not a specialist in writing. I'm not. I don't have certificates and Academy Awards and all the rest of it to say she's a writer. This woman's a writer.
But you
I work,
are
yes,
in
I am, but
every
I
sense
worked
of the
hard.
word. Yes.
I worked hard to get there, and I took advice whenever it was given. So, especially when you have a book edited, if you don't take that advice when it's edited, then you're losing valuable information.
Absolutely.
Because every single, and I've had 4 editors with all my different books. It's their advice is you can't buy that sort of advice. You know, you can't buy it in a shop. You can't. You only these specific people have invested in me, and I've invested in them. And the way they've edited my books has been wonderful. So taking their advice on changing things around is the one bit of advice I can give any writer: take note of what people are telling you. You know, if someone says you need to restructure that sentence, then have a look at it. Don't rush into it and do it, but have a look at it, because there will be another way.
Don't be defensive, hey?
That's right.
And this is part of Kez's work now in her book coaching and mentoring and book consultative process, is she looks at your work and helps make it better. So it's not about criticism, it's about making it better.
That's
and you
right.
help writers be better writers, Kez.
You're always going to be critiqued, no matter who you are, what you do.
That's correct.
I think
you
even
sure
the king, I think King Charles gets critiqued on some of his work. So who are we to complain about a simple critique? It's not, as long as it's not personal or degrading. Then by all means take it on board. But what I'm asking the authors that I do mentor these days is have a think about it. Have a think about what I've said, and can you make it sound better? You know, can you rewrite that sentence? I don't actually rewrite it for them. I make suggestions. That's all you can do. And the writers will, that's all you can do.
So, Kez, apart from writing international bestsellers, helping other authors write better, speaking across the globe, you've also embarked on another journey into book cover design awards. Tell me about that.
Well, talking to my publisher, and she said, go for it. I wanted to create something that honoured authors' book covers. Now, if you can imagine yourself in a library, that's the first thing you look at, and then you look at the blurb on the back. And that tells you what the inside of the book more or less is all about. So I wanted to honour that. Now, I know there are other companies that do that as well, but I want to take a personal take on it. So it's the Wickham St George Book Cover Awards. It's a long name, but it's my name. And so the Book Cover Awards is now fully fledged, and it's fluttering its little wings. There are people interested. What you do is you send the book cover and the blurb to me. If you want the illustrator of the book cover named as well, and then November you will get a certificate. And I have 4 judges on the panel saying, we love what you do, we love the books, etc., etc. So no one's going to lose out. There'll be gold, silver, and bronze, and nobody's going to miss out.
Fantastic, Kez. And for anyone watching this interview, we'll actually have a link to the Book Cover Awards. We have a graphic of the beautiful awards, which incidentally someone in America sent me and said, hey, look at what this person's doing with their awards. And I'm like, no, Kez. What a beautiful job. So you see, once you start stepping outside what you think might be your path, what starts to happen. And Kez's work and knowledge and the things that she does is being spread globally. The other thing that I wanted to talk about today is the work you do with video book reviews. Can you tell us about that, Kez?
That is one of my biggest passions, apart from writing. I love making another book shine. So I have, there's a local bookshop here. As soon as I walk in, I get my arms filled with books. Will you review this and review that? And I've reviewed books like the Obama books. I've reviewed books from the Duchess of York, Sarah. I've reviewed many, many authors. And it doesn't matter whether you're big, small, known or not known. I honour you all. I respect your work. I respect what your book cover is all about. I don't actually have to like it. But if you
to do
send
a
it to
review?
me, that I will review, I will read the blurb on the back. Now, Tony, I used to spend weeks reading the whole book, but it just took up so much time.
Oh,
I
yes.
was getting impatient. So if I find that the forward inside the book is more interesting than the blurb on the back, that's what will be reviewed.
Mm.
But well, it takes half an hour, and your
Mm.
book it can go into 3 different international magazines. It can go on the Tony TV show if you wish.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it can go in so many global, well-known places that if you don't do this, you're missing out.
And it's one of the ways to, so one of the struggles with new and emerging authors is to get those reviews. And this is where Kez noticed an element in the marketplace where people new and unknown, and even sometimes a well-known author can struggle to get reviews. And so Kez steps into this space, this niche, if you like, and does the video book reviews. She can write a review for you if you specifically request that, but she does amazing video book reviews. And if you want to know more, we will have Kez's contact details attached to this interview so that you can connect directly with Kez and ask her about anything that we've talked about today. Now, as we mentioned before, you do lots of speaking across the planet, and you've recently been to Cairns. And I wanted you just to share with the audience what it's like to go to an unknown space and share your wisdom about writing, publishing, etc.
It's scary.
Mm-hmm.
It was scary. I was known by maybe 6 authors there that I
Yeah,
had reviewed their books.
yeah,
So it was absolutely mind-blowing going into the many workshops that were provided,
yeah.
and never be always learn, take your notes.
Mm,
Tom Parker was there, very
yes,
famous author. And
yes,
I sat in his workshop and he
yes.
didn't know who I was.
Mm,
And I took notes
mm,
because they're very important. That when you start writing a book, you learn a few things about formatting your chapters. And this is what he
mm,
was teaching. And I thought that's
mm.
such good advice. So then it came to my turn on the Sunday. Um, and I may have had about 25 people in the room.
Mm,
And you have the when you're attending such a public workshop as that, you can go and come as you like. There is
mm,
no, you can leave for another. Workshops were happening every hour,
yeah,
and they were up and down the corridor. So you think, right, I've heard Kez for an hour, I'm going next door for an hour, and then I'm going further on.
yeah.
So I ended up with about 20 in the room that were avidly listening and wanting to know more about making a film. So
Mm,
I told them the process of what I went through
yes.
of writing the book and then
Mm,
making the movie. And then I showed the movie and you could have heard a pin drop. And I sat back at the room and just didn't watch the movie. I watched the other people and
mm,
their faces. And I'm a writer because of that,
mm,
watching other people. So
mm.
yeah, it's that was my experience in Cairns. Apart from that, I found the organisers beautiful. They were just lovely people, welcoming, had a beautiful hotel room. The food was amazing. Of course, Cairns is amazing.
Yes.
And there was no time for travel. I was busy, but yeah, it was an adventure I won't forget.
Fantastic, Kez. Now, before we finish on this interview, I want to know what's the best place to buy your books and what's your favorite way to be contacted by authors?
My favorite way is Kez Art 27
Okay,
at gmail.com. That's the easiest way to get hold
it
of me.
is. Yes,
My publisher has my books.
yes,
So MMH Press,
yes.
just log on that, mmhpress.com, and I'm sure that she'll be able to help with your inquiries.
Fantastic, Kez. If anyone's listening to this interview and they're interested in getting you to come and speak and talk to their group, is it best to email you, Kez? Is that the best ways to reach out?
Definitely. I do
Yeah,
get busy. Yeah, for the next 3 weeks, I'm
you
talking
will
in
be
2 different
busy.
places,
Yeah,
and then maybe a week off, and then up north again with a
yeah,
workshop.
yeah.
So I do get busy, but I had those moments when I thought, oh, I'm not busy. How lovely. I'll sit down and write some more. So, yeah. So contact me on that email and we can make arrangements.
And we will have that email in the interview notes for you to connect with Kez. Kez, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I do miss our weekly chats. I don't miss the workload of producing a live weekly show. The format now where I do interviews and record them and then release them live is a much better format, but I do miss our conversations with authors and books and writers across the globe. I get so excited every time I speak to you and you're doing something new and something exciting, and I can hear the excitement in your voice, and to know that you have created this business, if you like, from your books that has expanded out and now involves speaking and workshops and movies and all the rest of it. I'm so proud of you, number one, and I'm so gracious and grateful to consider you a friend. So Kez Wickham St George, thank you for coming on the Artist and Author Hour with me today.
My privilege, Tony, and I feel the same way. I miss them greatly, but life goes on and we all get busy, and digital world is so different now. So I sit back and you will see that I watch you on LinkedIn all the time, and I think there's my beautiful friend. There she is.
I'm very appreciative. I know who my regular watchers are because I'll see them in the analytics and stuff that feeds back to us, and there's part of me that thinks, gosh, to have things simpler as they were, but the bigger part of me is striving to help more people across the planet.
That's what you do, Tony. You do it so beautifully and so eloquently. So thank you.
Oh, Kez, thank you so much. That, my friends, is your lot for this week. We will be back again soon with another amazing author, although they're not all as famous and fabulous as Kez, but we will be back with more, I assure you. That's your lot for this week. Bye for now. It's not about the book. It's about the person you become on the other side of writing a book. What sort of book it is. It can be a business book, it can be a memoir, it can be anything. It can be a children's book. The process of writing will change your life.